The Metropolitan Golf Club has long been one of the standout courses on Melbourne's famed sandbelt, and in recent years, it's undergone a significant redesign by the team at Crafter and Mogford. In this two-part series, we're taking a closer look at those changes, starting with the front nine. Today, we're out on course with Paul Mogford to explore the thinking behind the renovations and how they've reshaped some of Metro's most familiar holes.
My name is Paul Mogford, the golf course architect at the Metropolitan Golf Club.
The project began back in 2017 when Crafter and Mogford developed a Course Enhancement Plan with a strong focus on vegetation management and restoring the course's original character. By the end of 2022, that work had evolved into a full redesign, beginning with the transformation of Metro's 19th hole.
We dropped the tees down quite low to accentuate the uphill nature of that part of the site. Redesigned the green, filled in the front right bunker, created a number of new pin positions just to dial up the ability to make it more challenging for different medal events and championships.
That hole offered an early glimpse of what was to come. The club's green replacement program was then rolled out in two stages. The front nine completed between November 2023 and March 2024, followed by the back nine a year later. At the heart of the redesign was a clear architectural approach to bring strategy to the forefront, reshaping greens, cutting bunkers further into green edges, reducing the impact of sand splash, and creating new corners and pin positions.
We did works to pretty much all the tee complexes, a number of fairway bunkers, and all the greens. Some greens more subtle change than others.
There's also a strong historical influence behind the work. When Alister MacKenzie visited the course in 1926, he identified several holes as the standout features of Metro. And it's those ideas that have helped guide many of the changes you see today.
Really, it was very important to us to identify the best of MacKenzie that we could take from those holes that we see on the front nine and incorporate those features into the back nine redevelopment.
Nowhere is MacKenzie's influence more evident than on the third hole, the first point in the round where golfers will really notice the transformation.
Here behind me, you'll see the reintroduction of a lost Alister MacKenzie bunker from 1932. To do this, we took the original left-hand side bunker and shortened that, made it closer to the tee by around 20 metres. The bunkers have a more staggered feel to them now, with the left side bunker more in play for the average golfer, whereas the right-hand bunker is set further along and challenges a longer hitter. It serves to protect the left-hand side of the green, where we've created more usable pin locations, particularly in that rear left portion.
One of the most striking views at Metropolitan comes from the elevated par 5 6th tee, but it's down closer to the green where the changes are most significant.
You'll notice behind me the new fairway bunker in the layup zone. This bunker has been put here to challenge the second shots when the pin is in the right-hand half of the green, because this is the best angle to approach that pin from. As we move closer to the green, the left greenside bunker originally was much smaller. We've enlarged it and cut it closer to the green. As you can see from above, it's created a tighter pin location in the back left. At the approach to the green, we've recontoured the fairway, and now for golfers who want to run their ball up onto the green, there's a bit more consistency with bounce. One of the more controversial holes on the course that we addressed was the 9th hole. And here we are on the tee shot. Previously, the tee was around 15 metres to my left. The dogleg was quite acute. So a lot of drives were running through the fairway. So we've reduced the severity of the dogleg. Now we've put the driver back in the hands of more golfers. We've also lowered the tee here, and we did that to accentuate the presence of the mounds that are in the start of the fairway. This new tee has opened up the right side of the fairway, which brings into play the new fairway bunkers we've introduced. The new right-hand bunker is actually a bunker that was part of Mackenzie's original 10th green.
Stay tuned for part 2, where we take a closer look at the changes to Metropolitan's back nine.